Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed. At 1,000 subscribers, I'll be posting a special video. His fist dropped a buzzing phone on my table. Unlock, glare, demand. Cover me tonight. He watched my face like a lie detector. A photo filled the screen and my stomach clenched. My friend grinned in that photo, and the woman was Lily. I'm Liam, 29. I should have walked away. Instead, I dragged the phone closer and zoomed the proof. Traffic lights in the background, a motel sign half-cropped. He tapped the date with his knuckle and waited for yes. Say we were together after 9, his jaw barely moved. Post something with me in it, he blocked the doorway. I kept my seat and counted breaths like they were chips. He leaned closer until I could feel the dare between us. She trusts you, he smiled without warmth and checked the exit. One story and I'm clear, his voice pushed, not asked. I looked at the motel letters and felt heat rise. In my chest, something old shifted and drew a line. My thumb hovered over his screen, then refused to land. Bathroom, I stood slow and he slid sideways to block. 2 minutes, I said, voice steady while my knees shook. He let me pass and watched like I'd pocket evidence. The hallway hummed and I stared at the mirror. You do this once and you live inside it. I turned on the tap just to hear another sound. The cold bite shocked me awake and framed the choice. Back out there, I'd be either accomplice or enemy. Both doors hurt and only one let me sleep. I dried my hands on my jeans and set my face. The handle felt heavy like a trigger that sticks. He was pacing now and thumbing drafts on his app. Game at my place, we posted late, simple, he rehearsed. He thought logistics would drown the shame and the risk. I stepped into his rhythm and made it stumble. Tell me the timeline, I kept my eyes on his. From first text to goodbye, I raised the stakes. He flinched because truth needs order and lies need fog. He started anyway and tripped over 9 o'clock. Met for a drink near the bypass, his gaze slid left. Backseat after 10, home by midnight, no witnesses, breath quickened. He reached for a grin and came back empty. My silence stretched and turned the room colder. I pulled my own phone and opened the camera. Look here, I raised it and he straightened too fast. The shutter snapped and he forced a relaxed grin. I saved the photo and didn't post a thing. Insurance, I slipped the phone back and let that word hang. His shoulders locked, then loosened with a practiced laugh. Come on, man, he reached for my arm and missed. Behind his eyes, something flickered that wasn't friendly. Why me? I asked it like a knife held flat. Because she believes you, he didn't blink and now I knew. He had tested every weak plank and found mine softest. I pictured Lily thanking me last week with open eyes. My throat tightened and I tasted metal on my tongue. He mistook that for yes and checked the time. 10 tonight, you tag me and add a joke. He already had the caption and it made me sick. Not yet, my voice stopped him in place. If I do this, I control the details. He nodded too fast and thought he won the point. I watched his hands and counted tiny tremors. The door swung and 2 neighbors walked through us. He smiled at them like a host with nothing burning. Their chatter passed and left us inside the heat again. He turned back sharp and dropped his smile. You in or not? His breath clipped each word. Pick a side before she calls, he checked the door. She's already suspicious, that slip rang like a bell. So this wasn't his first scramble and probably not last. I lifted my phone again and framed his face. Say the plan one more time, I hit record. He frowned but repeated the beats without jokes now. When he finished, I stopped recording and met his eyes. You think I'm saving you? I spoke quieter than him. I'm making a record. The truth landed between us. He stared at the phone like it might sprout teeth. For the first time, his confidence cracked at the edge. Bathroom break over, I moved past him toward the door. He grabbed my sleeve and I peeled his fingers off. We'll talk at 9, I opened the door and paused. He swallowed hard and nodded like a man at a cliff. Outside air cooled my head and sharpened the stakes. If I lie for him, I lose her trust forever. If I refuse, I lose my oldest friend in one blow. Either way, something breaks and I am holding the hammer. I walked to the corner and typed Lily's name. My thumbs hovered and the screen waited like a jury. Not yet, I thought, not without proof that sticks. I deleted her name and saved the number higher. Back home, I set alarms and killed notifications. I laid out nothing because rituals don't fix cowards. I rehearsed versions of the same refusal until words blurred. Sleep wouldn't come and the night stretched like wire. Near 9 my door rattled twice, then stopped dead. I checked the peephole and saw no one waiting. A message arrived a pin location and a heart. I felt the floor dip and knew what came next. He wanted me committed by movement, not by talk. One rideshare, one timestamp, and the lie hardens. I stared at the flashing dot and let it blink. Then I grabbed my keys and chose where to drive. I turned away from the pinned dot and drove the opposite way. My jaw locked as the engine climbed and the street blurred. He wanted me placed by coordinates and not by choice. I chose movement without him and felt the first crack widen. Halfway to the bar, I braked hard at a crosswalk. A couple laughed and my knuckles tightened on the wheel. I checked the mirror and rehearsed a clean refusal. My phone vibrated again and the screen lit like bait. "Where are you?" His text stacked over the location ping. 10 sharp or it falls apart, another buzz pushed at me. I turned left instead of right and killed the sound. Distance always tells the truth when words try to bend it. I parked near a grocery and walked to the payphone outside. Old habits help when you need quiet in a storm. Coins dropped and the line rang until a voicemail clicked. I left a short message and no names, just a warning. A rideshare slowed behind me and rolled an inch. The window eased down and a familiar cap tilted up. "Get in before this looks worse," his grin felt like teeth. I stepped back and my hands settled in a fist. "You ignored 2 pings," he leaned across the empty seat. "Your job is simple and you are late." He watched my stance and clocked the shift in me. "Say the plan again," I said and kept my ground. "Video at 10 with beers and chuckles," his eyes stayed hard. 2 selfies and a gentle joke about losing the game. "Then we both sleep," he drummed the door with one finger. I stared at that finger and pictured a trigger. "New rule," I held up my phone and hit record. "You confirm details on camera without fluff." He paused and his lips thinned into a line. "Paranoid now," he muttered, but he spoke the beats anyway. "Start over," I tilted the lens and captured the clock. He recited while traffic hissed and shoes scraped behind us. When he finished, I saved the file without a word. His glare slid off me and returned sharper. "You trying to trap me?" He checked the street and lowered his tone. "I'm trying to keep time honest because it never lies." I pointed at the ride and then at my empty pockets. "I walk from here," I added and waited for reaction. He killed the engine and stepped out with a forced smile. "Fine, we walk together and fix this quick." He fell in beside me and matched my steps. A drone of messages kept buzzing in his jacket. We reached the bar door at 9:57 and stopped. I scanned the room through the window and counted faces. He took out his phone and lifted it toward me. 2 seconds, he whispered and tilted for the frame. I kept my hands down and let the beat stretch. "Not inside," I said, because the angle ruined everything. Behind the bar hung a clock with a wandering minute hand. "That clock drifts and you know it," I said and watched him flinch. We shifted to the alley and used my screen light. I opened the camera and set the timer at 10. "Look natural," he said and tried a relaxed jaw. The shutter fired and I saved it without posting. "Now upload," he moved closer and shadowed the glass. "Not yet," I canceled and opened a text instead. I typed 3 words and showed him the draft. "Your choice now," I said and let the words hang. The draft read, "I'm done." He stared and swallowed. "You owe me," he whispered and the last word scraped. "I owe myself sleep," I answered and my voice steadied. His nostrils flared and something mean edged forward. "She calls you brother," he pushed the word like a blade. "So protect her and protect me at once." "You want both and you get neither," I said. A bottle clinked somewhere and the sound sharpened the air. Footsteps approached fast and a hoodie stopped near the dumpster. The hood lowered and a woman studied our distance. "Which one of you is posting?" she asked, eyes narrowed. Her hand held a phone already recording and we froze. He pasted on charm and lifted his palm halfway. "Just friends waiting for a ride," he aimed for harmless. She pointed at my screen and then at his jacket. "Your timestamps don't match mine," she said and kept filming. I felt the wind shift because the angle changed everything. We were no longer alone with our tiny script. I stepped forward 1 pace and blocked his shoulder. "Ma'am, please stop," I asked, and she eased the camera down. Only if he stops lying. Her eyes never left him. She turned the phone so I could see the recorded time. 9:58 with our faces ghosted by glare. Your first post reads 10 already, she added, and my gut turned. He lunged for her phone and I caught his wrist. Do not touch her, I said, and heat rose up. He jerked free and spat a curse into the bride. ZKS. The woman backed away and kept us both in frame. You want me ruined, he hissed, and the mask slipped. You did that alone, I replied, and my chest settled. This isn't about me anymore, I said, and meant it. He stared at the alley mouth like a fox sensing dogs. One last chance, he whispered, and the threat felt thin. Post it or I will make this loud. I prefer loud, I answered and opened a new text. His shoulders sagged, then rose again for one more bluff. She will blame you for all of it, he tried. She will know I chose honesty when it counted. I hovered over send and felt a tremor pass. Across the street, a familiar car slowed to a crawl. I recognized the plate and my throat tightened into steel. The passenger window cracked and someone watched the alley. He saw it too and took one step back. You called her, he breathed, and fear finally showed. The passenger door cracked wider and Lily stepped out fast. She didn't wave or smile, she just lifted her phone. Both of you stay where I can see you, her voice cut clean. He shifted his feet and I felt the ground tilt. She raised her screen and showed a rideshare receipt. Drop off near a motel at 9:41, each word landed. Your story says 10 already, her eyes flicked to me. I nodded once and kept my hands visible. He tried charm first and flashed a quick grin. Someone spoofed that, he rubbed his neck like it hurt. Apps mess up all the time, he reached toward her screen. She tilted it away and held her stance. The woman with the hoodie stayed back and kept filming. Your clock is honest, Lily told her without looking. Please keep recording until I finish, she never blinked. He swallowed hard and put both hands in his pockets. Did he ask you to cover tonight? Lily faced me fully. Heat climbed my neck and I chose clean lines. Yes, he planned posts and wanted me tagged. Her shoulders dropped an inch, then lifted for part 2. Do you have proof? She stepped closer but not too close. I opened my gallery and found the recorded plan. She watched the timestamp and the seconds humming by. He exhaled through his nose and scanned for exits. Play it, she didn't look away from my thumb. I hit start and his voice filled the service lane. He tried to interrupt and I raised a palm. The woman with the hoodie angled in for a better shot. When the clip ended, she looked between us, once, twice. Anything else you want to add? Her chin was steady. He spread his arms like a referee blocking a foul. She's turning you against me, he barked and kicked a crate. Stop, Lily's hand shook once then held firm. You cheated and then tried to conscript him. This isn't a triangle, her stare cut through bravado. He lowered his gaze and bit his lip. A car rolled by and slowed when it saw the phones. He watched the tires and weighed a sprint. I moved half a step to close his lane. Hoodie girl mirrored me and cleared her throat. You want the internet on this? She asked, eyebrows up. Or do you want to finish it here? He looked at the lens and flinched like it burned. Lily's jaw worked as if she tasted metal. Give me your keys, she held out her hand. He didn't move for 3 long beats. Now, she added, voice flat as pavement. He fished them out slow and dropped them into her palm. Phone 2, she didn't soften or blink. He clamped his fingers tighter around the device. I paid for it, he argued, voice dropping to gravel. Then consider this a return, she snapped and extended her other hand. He looked at me like I was supposed to referee. I kept still because neutrality is a choice until it is. You promised transparency, I told him and opened my notes. Unlock it, Lily said, and the air thinned. He hesitated, then tapped his passcode with jerky motions. She scrolled with a surgeon's calm, nothing theatrical. A notification banner popped up and froze her thumb. Her eyes flashed before she locked the screen. Whose number is that? She thrust the phone toward his chest. He reached, then stopped when she pulled it back. Do not lie because the next part is simple. Either you tell me or I call it, she warned. Silence pushed between us and made space for truth. He dragged a breath and tried another angle. Think about your image, he murmured, pitching it low. Public drama stains both of us, he added, angling for retreat. You're worried about stains, she answered with a small laugh. Here's a better word, consequences. She tapped the contact. The line rang once and then connected. A woman answered with a sleepy hello, and my gut iced. Lily ended the call and held the phone like evidence. That's enough for tonight, she said, voice steady again. You will pack a bag and sleep elsewhere. You will text me your plan by morning, she added, eyes cold. He squared up like he might push through me. I braced and planted my heel, ready for impact. Hoodie girl L. Ifted her camera and cleared her voice again. He deflated and the fight leaked out. He turned to me for one last rescue. Tell her you were with me right up to midnight. I watched Lily's grip tighten around the keys. I won't falsify time, I answered and felt my spine settle. Then you're dead to me, he spat near my shoes. Finally we agree on something, Lily answered without ceremony. He shuffled backward and kept his eyes on both of us. At the corner he paused like he had more to throw. He didn't, he vanished into traffic and left a hollow. The service lane exhaled and the distant chatter rose. Hoodie girl lowered her phone and shot me a nod. Good choice, she said and slipped away into the noise. Lily leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. I waited because any wrong word could snap the moment. Thank you for not folding, she said, barely above a whisper. I'm not done, she added, and something in me braced. She handed me his device and kept the keys. Hold this until tomorrow, she said, no wiggle room. If he tries anything, you send me everything. I tucked it away and felt the heat of the risk. One more thing, she said and looked past my shoulder. Someone else knew about tonight before I arrived. The timing was too neat, her gaze sharpened like a blade. Find out who tipped him off, she asked, and my chest tightened. I walked to the curb and unlocked his phone with the code. Notifications piled over a muted thread named Bench. Fresh text at the top read she's on her way. Someone warned him before she turned into the alley. I scrolled up and mapped the rhythm of that chat. 4 names, one hidden behind an initial and a flame. Another message earlier read he's shaky, push him to post. Bench wasn't gossip, Bench was logistics with timestamps that bite. I dialed the unknown initial through his contacts and let it ring. A voicemail answered with a clipped greeting and no name. I saved it, then typed into Bench as if I were him. We're clear, she bought the story, send a nod if safe. A typing bubble popped, then vanished, then came back. A quick reply arrived from E, just a thumbs and a check. 2 seconds later my phone buzzed with a number I knew. E calling direct meant the hook found a mouth. I answered on speaker and watched Lily in the car. You good man, his voice scraped, too bright for the hour. We cool for the post, shoes scuffed behind him through the line. I kept quiet long enough for nerves to bloom. You there, he swallowed and tried to laugh it off. Because she left my place fast when she heard motel. He flinched listening to himself, then tried to cover. Anyway, you owe me if this stays buried. Meet me now, I said, steady as a red light. Bring whatever you sent him before she arrived. He breathed hard, then asked where like it mattered. Backlot behind the grocery, I answered and hung up. I knocked on Lily's window, and she lowered it 2 inches. E hooked him in real time, I told her, short and plain. Stay in the lane and watch my back. She nodded once and tucked her keys into her sleeve. Hoodie girl reappeared long enough to airdrop the alley video. Angles clean, audio decent, she whispered, eyes still alert. If anything goes sideways, I stream this live. I thanked her with a tight nod, and she ghosted again. E arrived fast and alone, collar turned up and breath short. He scanned the lot and clocked Lily's silhouette. Why's she here, he asked, chewing his lip raw. Because you tipped him, I said, and he flinched hard. I just forwarded one ping, nothing else, his foot tapped. He told me she was circling, I relayed, that's it. Show me the thread, I pressed, hand open for the proof. He hesitated, then unlocked and handed over his screen. His chat showed 2 conversations stacked like mirrors. One with Bench pushing alibis on the minute. One with Lily asking where to find me tonight. He had answered both within 60 seconds, and there it was. You played switchboard, I said, and he stared at concrete. Why? I kept the question small so it wouldn't scatter. He rubbed his knuckles and looked away from the car. He covers tabs and keeps me invited, he muttered, shrinking. That ends now. Lily's door opened and she stepped out. She stopped a pace from him and lifted her chin. You texted him after you read my message, she said. That's the leak and I have the times. E's eyes flicked to me and then back to her. I didn't think it would blow like this, he whispered. It always blows like this when lies stack, she said. Send me screenshots and a voice memo tonight. He balked, then straightened like he wanted to grow a spine. What do I get for snitching? He asked, angling for leverage. You get to keep your distance from the wreckage, I answered. And you get my statement that he coached the alibi. Fine, he muttered, and set his camera to record. He spoke the timeline clean and added the motel hint. He finished with the exact minute he warned Bench. Then he hit send and handed me the sharing link. I passed Lily the link and saved a local copy. He shoved his hands deep and stared at the lot lines. You never saw me if anyone asks, he tried. You just became my evidence, she replied, calm as glass. My phone buzzed hard in my palm and made me jolt. Unknown number, short text, no greeting. Put his phone on your doorstep or I start breaking things. I lifted the screen so they both could read the threat. He blanched and backed toward his car like a tide. He gets mean when cornered, he mumbled, eyes wide. Then sent him a decoy, I said, brain already moving. I opened Bench and typed a quick misdirection from his account. Dropping the device with a neighbor 2 blocks east, 10 minutes. He saw it and nodded like the move bought him time. Lily considered it, then gave a tight shake. Too risky for randoms, she said and looked at me. We deliver to the station instead, she continued, voice set. You walk with me and we log tonight's mess. He stood frozen, unsure which way to lean. We cover you if he throws heat, I added and watched him swallow. Tires squealed at the street mouth and a car jerked in. Headlights swept the lot and trapped us in harsh cones. The engine revved once like a taunt that wanted answers. Lily lifted her phone and my thumb hovered over call. The car swung in hard and pinned us against the curb. Doors unlocked with a click that sounded like a dare. I slid 1 step left and kept his phone behind me. Lily angled her camera up and met the glare head-on. He climbed out fast and scanned our feet like markers. Drop it on the ground, his chin jerked toward my pocket. E drifted backward and pretended to check his mirrors. I planted both heels and braced for the first shove. You want a show? Lily asked, voice steady and sharp. Keep walking or talk like a grown man. He smirked and took 2 lazy steps closer. The engine behind him idled like a threat he could leash. That device belongs to me, he kept his palm out. It's listed on my account and you can't keep it. Property can wait, I answered and pointed to the screen. Bench is archived and secure and you know why. His eyes cut to Ian back to us. You folded the second she smiled at you. He tried to loom over me and failed by an inch. I let the silence stretch until his breathing stumbled. Keys, Lily lifted her hand without blinking. You gave them earlier and you will not reclaim them. He flicked his gaze to the parked sedan. Then I take the spare and you chase me, he grinned. He shifted weight and whispered near my shoulder. He stashed a duplicate under the bumper last month. I kept my face flat and nodded once. Lily moved past him and crouched near the wheel. Not yours to touch, he lunged and I blocked his chest. We jostled and my shoulder hit metal hard. He grabbed at my wrist and scraped skin. I pushed off and created space I could own. Back up, Lily stood and held a small key. She slipped it into her coat and locked eyes with him. You won't outrun this with a spare. His mouth tightened and the swagger drained a notch. Looking small wasn't his style, so he chose noise. He lifted his phone and started dialing names fast. Come here or I start naming people. The call rang out and went to voicemail with a cold beep. Try another number, my voice came out low and calm. Maybe someone from Bench will pick up now. He froze when the word landed and then forced a laugh. You idiot, that was a basketball group, he bluffed. Sure, I opened messages and scrolled to the header. 4 handles glowed with game clock precision and arrows. Fans rarely schedule alibis with Minute Ma. RKS, I said. He inhaled quick and the whatever grin finally cracked. A new text flashed on his phone in my pocket. E's link had propagated and receipts lined up in rows. I saw Lily catch the reflection in the car window. She nodded once like a judge marking exhibits. He saw her nod and chose fury over reason. He slapped my chest and tried to shove me off balance. I caught his forearm and twisted it away. He flinched and muttered an apology to the asphalt. Do not touch him again, Lily raised her voice. She held the camera steady and framed his face. You keep moving your mouth and blame follows fast. He held still long enough for shame to register. A door in the idling car opened an inch and paused. Someone inside leaned forward but never stepped out. Tell your passenger to leave, I called over the hood. We are busy untangling a mess that belongs to you. The door shut and the window slid down an inch. A low voice asked if everything was fine. Drive away, Lily answered, and the engine eased into reverse. The question left a chill I felt under my ribs. He saw the car roll and made his next bet. He took 3 quick steps and grabbed at my pocket. Fingers brushed the phone and I trapped his hand. He hissed and tried to pull back, but I held firm. Stop playing, I released him and took 2 paces back. We're walking to the station right now. He barked a laugh and wiped sweat on his sleeve. You think paperwork fixes betrayal, he sneered. It fixes patterns, I turned toward the sidewalk. Come with us and face it while you still can. He didn't follow, so I kept moving anyway. Lily fell in beside me and E trailed at a safe distance. He stalked after us with heavy strides and curses. Post the video and I'll equalize everything. Equalize how? I asked without breaking stride. By telling everyone your little crush, he crowed. I stopped and faced him square. Lily's jaw clenched but she stayed silent. You want to punish the only person who refused your scheme. You sound tired, try honesty for once, I said. Fine, he spit to the side and leaned forward. I met her because you were boring and predictable. She listened, you judge, his breath came fast. The words aimed past me and landed short. I clocked the tactic and cut him off. This conversation is about your choices, not my heartbeat. You hurt her and then built a cover. That's the file we're carrying, I finished and turned away. He matched our pace and tried a softer tune. Let me apologize without cops and crowds. Private and quiet and clean, he offered. I heard fear finally, thin and real. Apologize while we walk, Lily said. Use the voice memo and state facts. He scoffed and kept pace anyway. He recorded with his camera tucked near his chest. We reached the corner and waited for a break. A horn barked and cut the gap open. He darted across ahead of us and vanished between cars. I cursed and sprinted hard with Lily right behind me. He zigzagged through the lot and grabbed for door handles. Nothing opened because the drivers had locked up. He veered toward a narrow cut between fences. I pushed my lungs to catch him before the turn. He reached the gap and twisted sideways to squeeze through. I caught his jacket and he wriggled free. Fabric tore and left a scrap in my hand. He bolted into a service yard and stumbled once. We followed into the narrow lane and kept him boxed. He climbed a short wall and dropped on the other side. I scrambled after and felt something in my ankle strain. I landed ugly and still managed to stay upright. Lily stuck the landing and pointed down the row. He won't clear the gate without help, she called. We cornered him near a locked chain and rusted hinges. He turned to face us and lifted both hands halfway. This looks dramatic, he muttered, trying for humor. Good, maybe it sticks in your memory, I replied. Put the showman away and name the truth. He exhaled and looked at the ground like it would answer. He tried one more pivot and aimed at E. You leak again and I'll bury you in rumors. E stood his ground and held up the recording. Try it and I upload right now, he warned. I pulled his phone out and opened voice notes. Start talking, one take, no edits. Lily pressed the red circle and angled the mic. He stared at it like it might bite. He started with the motel and timestamps. He moved to the alley rehearsal and fake story. He named bench and the role each contact played. He ended with the message that threatened my porch. The lane hummed when he stopped. Lily saved the file and backed it up twice. He mirrored her steps and handed me a copy. I locked my screen and felt something inside settle. He dropped his arms and sagged against the chain. Now what? He asked, voice husky and flat. Now you go home to someone else's couch, Lily answered. Tomorrow you return whatever doesn't belong to you. He stared through the fence like freedom sat 10 inches away. Can we skip the police? He asked without edge. We logged the threats and the coordination, I replied. You built a system, systems deserve daylight. He nodded once, the first real concession of the night. Then let me ride with you and finish this. No rides, follow in the open or don't, Lily said. He gave a weak shrug and did not argue. We retraced the route and crossed the main street. Cars slowed and watched our trio like a parade. He kept filming and never looked down. I held the phone like a live fuse I would not drop. Halfway there my pocket buzzed again and again. Bench members fired off frantic pings and warnings. One message read, "Wipe the chat now before anyone screens." I laughed once and photographed the panic in sequence. "You left a trail and the trail runs uphill," I told him. People always think deleting fixes memory. Memory spreads when pressure hits. He stared at the sidewalk and said nothing. The station doors slid open and cool air hit us. A uniform at the desk looked up and clocked our faces. "Recording to file," Lily said, clear and composed. The officer nodded and pointed us to a side room. We sat on plastic chairs and laid out the pieces. Ali clip, bench thread, voice confession. I kept commentary short and let the timeline breathe. The officer typed steady and asked lean questions. "Any weapons involved tonight?" "Only threats and a shove," I answered. "Any property damage?" "Just a ripped jacket," I lifted the scrap with 2 fingers. The officer took screenshots and asked for copies. Lily transferred files to an evidence folder with timestamps. He repeated his statement and kept his tone even. He glanced at me once and I gave a silent nod. When it ended, we stepped back into the hall. He hovered near the door like a shadow with sore feet. Lily turned to me with a quiet inhale. "One more favor," she said, and the corridor seemed to tighten. "Block him on everything after we leave here. And keep that device powered until legal confirms." She looked at me and looked away fast. "Thank you for choosing the hard thing," she added, barely above a murmur. I felt relief and something sharper underneath. Every mile tonight had shaved off another layer. I wasn't his cover anymore, and that changed the shape. Tomorrow would test whether I could keep that line. We walked outside and the night felt thinner. He lingered near the steps with his hood raised. "Am I clear?" he asked, searching for a verdict. "You cooperate tomorrow and you are clear," Lily answered, brisk and final. Across the street his familiar car rolled by slow. No window opened and no voice called out. It drifted past like a ghost that wanted attention. I let it pass and did not turn around. Lily's phone buzzed with a new alert. She read and then showed me a short message. "Do not come home tonight, I am there." My stomach turned and my heartbeat jumped into my throat. "He's escalating," I said, and we pivoted. "We go grab what you need and then stay elsewhere." "Not alone, not with him waiting," I added and quickened pace. She matched me step for step and didn't argue once. He jogged to his car and pulled alongside. "I can run a loop and block his route," he offered. "Do that," Lily replied, and he sped off on cue. Traffic swallowed him and left us with open road. We cut through back streets and planned the entry. Lily listed the essentials in clipped breaths. When we turned the last corner, lights glowed in her windows. A silhouette crossed the living room and paused like it sensed us. "Front or side?" I asked, weighing angles and exits. "Side," she answered, and we slipped along the hedge. A lock turned inside and footsteps crossed to the entry. I reached for the handle and felt the metal buzz under my palm. The handle twisted from the inside and the latch clicked. I pulled back an inch and Lily gripped my sleeve. The door cracked and his silhouette filled the gap. "Come in slow," he warned, and I felt my heartbeat climb. We stepped through and he locked us in behind. He didn't lunge, he didn't smile, he just watched. "Leave the device on the counter," he ordered without blinking. I kept it on me and shifted my weight toward the hall. 2 minutes, Lily said, palms open and level. "We're collecting essentials and leaving right now." He glanced at the stairs and then at her room. "Nothing leaves until I clear it," he replied, jaw tight. "Then clear this first." I raised my phone with a tap. The red dot pulsed and pulled his focus. "You are on record from now through goodbye." He wiped his mouth and looked for something to break. "You wrecked my life to play hero," he growled. "Step aside and stop cosplaying judge." "Or what?" I asked and waited through the pause. His nostrils flared and the threat died on the way out. Footsteps crossed the ceiling and stopped above us. He heard them and blinked hard once. "I am not alone," he muttered, which squared the moment. "Then invite them down," I said and motioned to the stairs. A door opened overhead and a woman peered down. Her eyes darted between all 3 of us. "I want my jacket and I'm leaving," she snapped. She looked at Lily and then ignored him entirely. He winced like the script slipped from his hands. "We are handling it," he tossed up to her. "Not your house," she shot back, holding the rail. The power shifted a notch and stayed tilted. Lily brushed past me and pointed at a suitcase. "3 minutes tops," she said, voice trimmed to steel. I blocked his path while she moved by memory. He paced once and the pacing got smaller. "Give me the handset and I let you walk," he bargained. "Hand it off and this ends quiet." "Ends quiet where?" I asked and took one step closer. "At the station or with more neighbors watching," I added. He stared at me and measured the distance. "You're not my enemy," he tried, voice suddenly soft. "You're the last person who gets it," he added slowly. He reached toward his pockets and my hands came up. "No reaching," I told him, and he froze. Lily zipped the suitcase and kept her gaze on him. "Move aside," she said and shifted her stance. He did not move and the room felt tighter. E's engine rolled up outside and idled low. He texted one word, "ready," and I flashed the porch light. Back up in the street made him twitch left. "Who else is coming?" he asked, neck tendons tight. "Enough to stop you from doing something stupid," I answered. "Enough to witness what you pick next," I added. He laughed once but the laugh broke. He rubbed his temples and stared at the ceiling. "Say the last part clearly," Lily said, suitcase by her leg. "You threatened his door and tracked me tonight." "Confirm it again so I can sleep," she finished. He breathed out and nodded, slow and reluctant. "Yes, I sent that message," he inhaled through his teeth. "Yes, I watched her place earlier," he added quietly. "Because I wanted leverage when you flaked," he admitted. The words landed dull and heavy and unrepairable. "Open the front," I told him and gestured wide. "We walk out now and you keep your distance." He stared at my outstretched hand like it might burn. Then he turned the deadbolt and backed away one step. We moved toward the porch in a tight line. He shadowed us at the threshold and hovered. "Last ask," he called without daring to close in. "Say nothing online and I disappear," he offered. "Stay off our phones and you stay off our feed," I returned. "Break that once and everything goes public," I said. The bargain hung between us and did not fall. He nodded once, tiny and bitter and real. Outside, E held the curb and watched the windows. "Rear route clear," he whispered, eyes scanning the street. Lily lifted the suitcase and passed it to him. He popped the trunk and kept his head on a swivel. I turned back for the final piece. He leaned against the frame and refused to meet my eyes. "You wanted me as cover," I told him evenly. "Remember who took that away," I finished and waited. "You," he answered, then caught himself and shook it off. "You and your conscience and her timing," he muttered. "No," I said and felt something click into place. "You did it when you chose the lie," I ended. He swallowed and stared at the sidewalk like it might answer. "Leave the spare key on the table," Lily called from the car. He dug into his pocket and tossed it toward the entry. Metal clinked and the sound broke the last tie. We got in and E pulled us into motion. My phone buzzed and a new alert appeared. Bench went silent and then messages started vanishing. Too late to erase, I thought, and grabbed screenshots anyway. 2 blocks out, Lily reached across the console. Her knuckles brushed mine and lingered a beat. "We're not hiding anymore," she said, firm and tired. The words steadied me more than the seatbelt ever could. I called the desk and filed the update mid-ride. Time and location and his confession summarized clean. A case number returned and I entered it twice. Paper trails matter when memory gets noisy. We crossed town and parked outside a friend's place. Lily texted a quick heads up and waited for reply. "Stay until morning?" I asked, careful with tone. She looked at me long and gave a slow nod. Before we went in, I placed his handset on record. I set it in a bag and locked it tight. "Battery stays alive through sunrise," I told E. He took the bag and tucked it safely behind his seat. A final buzz hit my pocket and I checked the screen. Unknown contact wrote, "We were stupid to think it ends here." I pinned the text and forwarded it to the case file. Then I blocked the number and felt the night exhale. Lily's door opened and warm voices pulled us inside. She set the suitcase down and turned back toward me. "I'm done with bargaining," she said, eyes unflinching. "Tomorrow I change the locks and change my list." He yawned and leaned against the wall, finally looser. "You need anything before I crash?" he asked, already fading. Just keep the bag and keep your phone on, I replied. He tapped his pocket twice and slipped toward the couch. I stood in the entry and let the weight redistribute. No adrenaline, just a clean ache in my shoulders. The shape of the night came into focus without fog. I was finished being someone else's excuse. From the street, a horn chirped once and fell silent. I looked across the room and met Lily's gaze. "We'll be fine," she said, and meant every syllable. I believed her enough to breathe, and the house held steady.